Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. More bad news for Hillary Clinton this week, involving another one of her scandals. The chairman of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees have announced that they're opening a new probe into how the FBI and DOJ handled the investigation into Clinton's private server. Also this week, Judicial Watch announced that last year, the FBI recovered 72,000 pages of Clinton email records, 40,000 of which the State Department still has to process. Joining us now is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, and from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. All right, Tom, let me ask you, what is the latest in terms of the information that you've gotten from your subpoenas?
Well, these are Freedom of Information Act requests. We've been asking for these emails for years, and they've been stonewalling the release of the information even under this new administration. The deep state's running things at the State Department, Justice Department on these Clinton emails. And as you highlighted, there are 72,000 pages of Clinton emails the FBI went and found. And these are the emails Hillary Clinton tried to delete that the FBI found or recovered. And they've only released a few of them. And at the rate they're releasing them to us now, we won't get all of them until 2020. And on top of that, there are 2,800 pages of records or documents over on Anthony Weiner's laptop that Yuma Abedin had that were also government records that are also from the Clinton email server. We don't know what's in them. Is it classified information? Is it Russia information? What was being deleted by Hillary Clinton is the big mystery.
Well, you know, my take, if we've got 72,000 emails and the State Department that was asked for them by, at the time of Benghazi, how many years ago was that, in 2012, and it's taken them this long, I have an idea. Let's defund Mueller and his special counsel and use that money to get people to start releasing those State Department emails. And you know, Jordan, what say you about this?
Well, I think that I am encouraged that Congress is now looking at this, Judge, put with a new lens in a couple different ways. One, when it comes to the new investigations under how the FBI handled this whole really investigation, they never wanted to call it that, matter, I guess, into Hillary Clinton, why they were so public and kept telling Congress and giving them updates about Hillary Clinton, and then made the ultimate call not to prosecute instead of deferring to the Department of Justice, the normal course of action. And then also, you know, Trey Gowdy, who chairs Oversight Committee, wants to bring Jim Comey back to testify under oath. That's important. But second, and I think this ties to a FOIA that we're working on right now at ACLJ, is that the FBI, we now know, was part of, had inked a deal, it appears, with Christopher Steele to continue the opposition research that Hillary Clinton's campaign was paying for through Fusion GPS. We want to know how far along the FBI went. So we've filed with the FOIA with the FBI to get that information, Judge, because that is absurd. As you said earlier in the broadcast, it taints everything if the starting point for the unmasking, if the starting point for the special counsel, if the starting point for all of this Trump-Russia info is really a Hillary Clinton-Russian scandal.
Well, clearly. I mean, you know, people have used this term all week, for the last few days. The whole thing is turned on its head. But, Tom, $50,000, I believe, has gone from the FBI to Christopher Steele. How do they justify that? And is that the correct amount?
Oh, we don't know, and we've asked for the documents too. In fact, we're already in federal court on it, and the Justice Department FBI have told us they can't confirm or deny whether any documents exist about the dossier or payments related to it. So this is where we stand. Everyone is talking about the FBI's relationship with Christopher Steele, but the FBI doesn't want to say anything about it. And now they're going to turn over some documents to Congress. We wonder if they're going to update the court as to whether they still believe they can credibly say they can't confirm or deny whether documents exist. The lack of transparency is convenient. It's helping Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and hurting President Trump.
Well, clearly. And isn't it
also hurting the credibility of law enforcement. You know, Judge, I mean, that is ultimately what is so damaging here is that people's faith in our top law enforcement agencies like the FBI, it's totally undercut when they behave this way.
Well, clearly, as between Comey and Mueller, they have done more to destroy the country's confidence in the FBI. As someone who worked in law enforcement for over 3 decades, what they have done is stunning. If this Trump dossier is the basis of FISA warrants and the unmasking of Americans and was used knowingly, funded by the Clinton campaign, and Jim Comey is the guy who goes out when it's not his job, Tom, and makes a decision that he's going to exonerate Hillary, I mean, then the whole criminal justice system falls on its head.
You know, the Clinton campaign and the DNC have their problems with the dossier, but to the extent the FBI and Justice Department used this dossier as a pretext to spy on President Trump's team or President Trump himself, This is much more significant government scandal in terms of the Obama administration, the Justice Department, and the FBI than, frankly, anything Hillary Clinton did.
Well, clearly. And Jordan, final question. I mean, what can we look forward to in the next few weeks?
I think that confidential informant is going to change everything. I think it's why you're going to start seeing both sides try to speed up their activity because you've got people on the run right now, so to speak, in Washington, D.C., and now they know a confidential informant is going to be able to provide information on the influence Russians were trying to assert on the Clintons, both Hillary and Bill Clinton, specific to uranium deals in the United States that were ultimately approved by President Obama.
Very sad. All right, Tom Fitton, Jordan Sekelo, thanks so much for being here.
Well, our next guest saw the growing political divide in the country and left his Democratic comfort zone to spend a year among the so-called deplorables, and was surprised by what he found.
Former CEO of NPR, author of the new book, Republican Like Me, How I Left the Liberal Bubble and Learned to Love the Right. Ken Stern joins us now. You can start with Pete, loving the right. I was just teasing him during the break, Ken, I wonder what you found on this journey.
So I decided to do this book because I've been, as you said, increasingly concerned about the anger level in this country. And I said I need to leave my 93% Democratic ward and 100% Democratic household and see things from the other side. So I went out. The subtitle of my book is How I Learned to Love the Right, because I met hundreds, not that I agreed with everyone I met, but I met hundreds of people sort of making extraordinary contributions to their communities, trying to do the best thing for their families and trying to do the best thing for their country. And I really did meet many people I admired and loved.
So
and that's from little. Yeah,
so you met some Trump supporters that were not deplorables, that were not racist. Because I always say if you don't know someone that supported President Trump, you shouldn't be talking about politics, because we all live in our cul-de-sacs, but you have to have a good understanding of both sides and people across this country. What was your takeaway from many of the people that went out and did vote for President Trump?
Yeah, look, 62 million people voted for President Trump. That's 62 million stories. And I think we go wrong if we try to create stick figures of the people who supported them. Look, a lot of people supported him for, policy reasons. Some supported it sort of because they were angry at the direction of the country. They saw that they'd been failed by both Democrats and Republicans, and they saw a very different guy trying to, who they hoped would do things in a very different way. And they certainly did get a very different kind of president.
Ken, you ran a major media organization, yet didn't really know a single Republican. For others out there, a lot of Trump voters, what does that say about newsrooms across America, in Manhattan and elsewhere? Are we ever getting a balanced view of the environment, let alone conservatives?
Well, so let's start off. It says newsrooms are like the rest of the country. They all live in a bubble. So the Washington Post did this extraordinary poll during the last election in Virginia, evenly divided states. They asked Clinton supporters, do you have any close friends or family members who are voting for Trump? And they asked Trump supporters the same thing. And about 60% said no. They didn't know anyone on the other side. And newsrooms are sort of the same. I mean, everyone lives in sort of their geographic and cultural bubble. The problem is just magnified when you have responsibility.
In these newsrooms, right? I mean, it's 95%.
Look, they draw from I don't know. I don't have the data supported. I'm not going to go outside what I know. I do know that they draw on a generally liberal pool. I think a lot of these newsrooms, the ones that I know, actually have great reporters trying to do great things. But there's a risk of political homogeneity, and that, I think, is sometimes reflected in the reporting.
Do you encourage other folks like yourself in the media world to take the journey that you did? I mean, how much did you change from that experience?
So I changed a lot. When you don't know the other side, it's really easy to turn them into cartoon figures. And when you meet people, you realize actually what a moderate people the American people are, that there's a lot of nuance, that people gravitate towards finding common solutions. And we lose that in this modern media and sort of loud social media environment we're in. We got to break out of that in some ways. This is just my journey, but the more we can encourage this kind of conversation, the better off we'll all be.
Did you get a chance, Ken, to see that open letter that Brian Mann, he's a reporter with North Country Public Radio, wrote? It's an NPR station, and he basically was saying that he believes that you overgeneralized. Among other things, he said, quote, the fact you dragged NPR into your pre-chewed How I Learned to Love the Hicks narrative when public radio reporters have been telling conservative America's story with care and knowledge and intimate details for a long time, he found ridiculous. How do you respond to some of the critics in these newsrooms who are saying that you've treated them unfairly?
Yeah, look, a few people shared Brian's open letter with me. So I would say one of the challenging things writing a book about polarization is that people have polarized response to the book, even if they haven't read it yet. The book's been out for 4 days. I think what Brian didn't give me credit for saying, which I do say, which is you could actually hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. That newsrooms are filled with qualified journalists trying to tell good stories and be intellectually curious and rigorous, but also at the same time face the consequences of groupthink. I think the fact that people reacted in some newsrooms reacted so angrily to it, I don't think actually credits the conversation. No organization is perfect. There's a real challenge in telling a very complicated political story out there. We need different points of views in it.
All right, well, the book is called Republican Like Me, Ken Stern. It's a fascinating read. I look forward to going home and reading it today.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks
Appreciate it.